Alright, here we are for round number 3, or round number 5, sorry about that. So we're playing against Part-Time Nerd, who I believe is on like some kind of budget burn deck. That's the burn deck I played last time. This hand is not very good against burn, but I am going to keep it. Counterspell is great against burn, so... Oh, maybe he's on Kuldotha Boros. Am I just remembering the wrong deck or something? Well, I'm going to play this island. The unfortunate part about the bounce lands is it means you do have to discard a lot of the time. So our avant card just can be really good this game, I would guess. Okay, it's Kuldotha Boros. Maybe I'm thinking of a different player. And I'm just going to play this island, and I'm going to counterspell basically anything this turn. Because I don't want to have to discard. My cards are too valuable, they're all good. I'm assuming my opponent thinks I'm playing, my opponent missed their land drop, somehow. I suspect my opponent thinks I'm on a different deck than I am actually on. Well, I'm going to give him free reign for one turn. I bet my opponent thought I was on the blue-red Delver deck. Because that's what everyone is on, that plays these snow-covered islands. I've made it very clear that that is in fact not the deck I'm playing at this point. Favorite Inspector, not a big deal. If he pops his clue for, okay, he didn't. If he popped that clue for Kuldotha Rebirth, we could be in trouble if I don't draw a swamp. Okay, an island. Just gonna Aqueduct, pick up my Radiant Fountain. Pass a turn. Gonna exclude pretty much any creature, I think. Just want to draw another black source so I can clear all this up all at once. Glint Hawk. Actually not that great. It's not card advantage. You can have a Glint Hawk. He's going to have to pick up a clue or a land. And he didn't tap the land, so... Bit of a misstep from Part-Time Nerd, unless he didn't want to use that mana anyway, in which case it's just fine. What I really want to counter is the... Skyfisher, because Skyfisher I can't clean up with the Justice. Another Edict. I'm going to try to hold off on casting my Edicts until my opponent is, I've wrathed my opponent, but it's looking like, I mean, I'm probably still 2 turns at least away from doing that. Ichor Wellspring makes a lot of his creatures way better if I let that resolve. Then again, doesn't really do anything. My opponent has so many cards right now. See what they play here. If it's another Thraben Inspector, I might even just exclude it. I'm hoping for a Skyfisher to exclude. Lightning Bolt. Man, talk about a spell I don't care about. Alright, I will counter this one. Okay, another island is not great. It's possible I need to just start edicting this stuff away. If I don't draw a black source here. Okay. I take it all back. Sometimes you can get burned out by Kuldotha Boros, but I don't see that really happening this game. With the 2 counterspells in hand, and the Talisman on board is a huge deal. Of course, Skyfisher, gonna counter it. Alright. Let's go ahead and gain our life in F6. Probably gonna pick up their step so they can cycle it. No, it picked up. That's interesting. They just want tons and tons of mana, huh? Echoing Decay is a nice one too. But I'm going to go ahead and play Avant-Card's Justice. It does put us to 11, so I could die here. It puts us to 14. That makes us a lot less likely to die. They'd need 3 Galvanic Blasts to kill me. We'll see if they've got it. Anything else we should be just fine. But exactly triple Galvanic Blast could kill us pretty easily here, unfortunately. Took a little too much damage along the way here. Maybe I should have countered that Glint Hawk, even though I could just clean it up with my Avant-Card's Justice. I have so much card advantage over my opponent, I should have probably not gotten quite so greedy. What are they tapping all this mana for? Oh, Battle Screech? Battle Screech is not any good. I just played Avant-Card's Justice against you. He's got the one Galvanic Blast. I'm just going to Echoing Decay these. I'm not screwing around with getting killed with my Avant-Card's Justice, so Echoing Decay your birds. Alright. Now I have this counterspell up, so I feel pretty safe about the burn spells. They do need 3 at this point, and 3 is a lot more than 2. Especially since they actually need 4 because of the counterspell. I'm not going to counter this, I'm just going to Justice them away. I don't really want to burn my counterspell on something like that, so I'm going to just do that. Hopefully I draw a Radiant Fountain again, would be a nice one. Draw my second one. Crypt Incursion would be pretty good. False Summoning is fine. It's not really what I want though. The bad part about this is it does put me down to, puts me back down in range of getting hit by a double Galvanic Blast. At the moment my opponent doesn't have Metalcraft, so they'll have to play something else before they can do it, so they might not have enough artifacts. Wow, I wonder what my opponent has. Maybe they got like a bunch of Journey to Nowheres. What are they stuck on? Maybe just a bunch of stuff that dies to Avant-Card's Justice and they don't want to play it, but my opponent should just keep playing it, playing stuff into this, and hope that I hit myself too low. Hopefully I hit a bunch of lands in a row here. Nope, not a land. Perfectly happy to discard some of these edicts though. Glint Hawk. That's a decent one to false summoning. I just don't want to have to discard next turn, so I'll just spew off a couple counter spells here on their value creatures. Ash Baron's not bad. Let's go ahead and grab an island. Pretty rarely do I need more than 3 black sources in a turn, whereas I might want a double counterspell plus Teachings or something in a turn. Sorry for the loud, I don't know if you guys can hear it, you probably can. Sorry about the loud noise outside, but they're mowing the lawn at my apartment again. Just like every day. Always with the mowing. Alright, so let's go ahead and Justice with buyback, pick up our Radiant Fountain. My opponent does have Metalcraft now, so they just need like 1 Galvanic Blast and 2 bolts. Gotta say I'm not confident in their ability to kill me here though. Yeah, I mean I'll take 4. Might counter the next one. Yeah, I'll counter this one. What I don't want to happen is for them to have a Firebolt, because then I'd have to counter both halves of the Firebolt if I go down that low, so I don't want that to happen to me. One thing to be aware of is my opponent has drawn more cards than me already, so I'm not too worried about getting any win conditions online or anything. They're just going to draw out before me. I'm just going to go ahead and edict this away. Don't really want to take 2 more damage at this point. And I've got all these edicts and removal spells and stuff in my hand. Okay, we win. Yeah, our opponent realized the inevitable. So this is a really good matchup for us. I'm going to bring in these guys. Normally pretty good. Stuff like that is good. I normally bring in Hydroblast over Dispel. So Hydroblast hits Kuldotha Rebirth, but Dispel does not. And then Dispel hits Rally the Peasants, but Hydroblast does not. So it's a horse apiece, but I do believe that hitting Kuldotha Rebirth is better than hitting Rally the Peasants, but I'm not sure. Relic is pointless. Duress is okay. I don't mind it. I'll take a look to see if I have a lot of stuff to take out. The thing is, most of my cards are pretty good against them, so I don't have a lot to take out. Things I want to definitely take out. I want to take out Curse for sure. Do not want to have Curse in my deck. Some of the Edict stuff is not quite as good against them because they've got like none of their creatures. All their creatures are 2-for-1s, and they've got all those tokens against Edict, so it's pretty bad to have that. I like Repeal against tokens, of course, but again, they don't have anything that I'm that scared of, like any weird permanent, so I think I'll take the Repeal out. Hitting 1 token out of like 3 or 4 is just still not that impressive. I'm gonna take a 1 Chainer's Edict. So that's for this stuff. Yeah, I'll take out a little more of my 1-for-1 removal. So let's take out 1 more Edict, and then I think this Innocent Blood, and then I'm gonna bring in the 2 Hydroblasts, and then yeah, I think with these Duresses too. So let's go ahead and Doomblade's actually okay. Agony Warp is better than Doomblade. Agony Warp just a strictly better Doomblade, pretty much. I like to be able to tutor out my Devour Flash. Let's cut the last Innocent Blood. And then Capsize is not great against them. It's okay, you can cut off all their lands, but yeah, I kind of like Capsize. No, I'll cut the Capsize, too expensive. Alright. They do have all those bounce lands, and Capsize can be pretty brutal against that, but kind of at that point of the game, normally we've already locked it up, so I don't really need to play the Capsize. We forgot to update our match record, just like I always do, so we're actually 2-2 here. Alright, 2-2. Got a 1-land hand. Got some good stuff. I'm actually going to keep this. I got kind of a lot of stuff to do. We got 23 lands, so 22 left in our 53 card deck. We're pretty likely to draw one in our top 2. Even if we don't, it's just whatever. I could probably afford to miss 1 turn with this hand. Raven Inspector. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead, unless I draw an island, I'm going to go ahead and Duress here. Be nice to take like one of these out of their hand. Unfortunately, I can't take them both out. I think the Ichor Wellspring's actually better here, so I'll take that out of their hand. Fortunately, they had 2 of them, so that's a bit of a shame. And if my opponent draws an untapped land, they can play both. In fact, the one reason to take the Prophetic Prism instead of the Ichor Wellspring is that now any untapped land lets them play the Glinthawk. Yeah, and it just happened to me. So I should have considered that maybe a little more. But what I really didn't want to have happen was have the Ichor Wellspring get killed or whatever. I guess it would have been fine. I didn't want him to get value though from that. What's it called? From that spell. I didn't want him to get value from Kuldotha Rebirth off of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just play this. I think it is my second blue. Yeah, I'll just go get a blue with it. I wanted to hold up Exclude this turn or play the Pristine Talisman, but I think this is just better. If my opponent doesn't play anything I want to counterspell, I'll Doomblade the Glinthawk at the end of turn. I don't really want to counter the Prophetic Prism. It would cut off a lot of their engines if they don't have any more prisms, but no, I don't think that matters. Playing it this way though means I do get to do this. So, kind of happy about that happening. Or do I want to draw? Jukabog is fine. Wouldn't play that. I think I'm going to hold up my counterspells rather than playing this Pristine Talisman. What am I hoping for here? My opponent to play Battle Screech and flash it back. Another Prophetic Prism's okay. I guess I'm glad I didn't counter one of these because they ended up having a ton of them. They didn't matter much. Oh yeah, look at that. It's paying off. I'm not gonna let that happen. I'll just shrivel it on my turn. So I do still know about that, they've got a secluded step in their hand. I could Justice everything away, but I'd like to save the Justice for now. Play draw on untapped lands, but okay. It wasn't like imperative or anything, but it'll be nice to have. It's always nice to be able to hold up Exclude rather than just Counterspell. What's happening here? Okay. So I don't think there's anything that pumps all that stuff. Okay, so the only card I know that's left in their hand is a Bolt. So I do have to be careful of that a little bit, but one Bolt isn't that scary. It's only scary if they've got 5. And 4 of them are Galvanic Blast. So that'd be a lot of damage. Hopefully they play creature at some point that I can exclude. Is another Kuldotha Rebirth? Nope. Cycling a Forgotten Cave, okay. Crack a Clue. I believe I will exclude any creature. But it looks like might not be playing any. No. That's pretty easy exclude. False Summoning is a nice draw. Temur Aqueduct's even nicer draw. So you can see we definitely got there this hand, even though had a pretty greedy keep. We're probably going to find out pretty soon here if my opponent is playing Pyroblast or not. They haven't really had a good spot to hold it up yet. Alright, nothing, huh? I know they have a Bolt in hand. How much mana do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This will be 8, so I'm not going to Justice without being able to hold up a Counterspell, I don't think. But I might just Agony Warp this thing to death. I guess there's no reason not to. Agony Warp's not really getting that much better. I've got multiple Counterspells here. Alright. Pass the turn. So now my opponent's bolts are getting worse and worse, basically. I'm going to let everything resolve that dies to Tevinkar's Justice. It is going to be a little annoying if they have Prismatic Strands, but they'll only be able to use it a couple times, so I don't think that'll be enough to kill me. But you never know. Alright. What's going on here? Okay. Another island. Seven. See if my opponent's got Prismatic Strands. Nope. And the thing is, even if they had it, I wouldn't take any damage from it, and they wouldn't be able to attack, and if they did, I'd just be able to counterspell the flashback, so Fragmentize is pretty annoying. I kind of want to counterspell that, to be honest. That's a tough one. It's really not important. But this gives us a lot of inevitability. And this is probably going to gain us 10-15 more life this game. I think I'll let it go. And my opponent F6'd and everything. I could have just countered it and just been done with it. That's okay. I've got another one somewhere in here, and I think we'll be okay. So what's my opponent got next? Radiant Fountain does nothing. So one thing to look for, my opponent is on 4 or 5 cards, depending on which turn it is, in front of us. So I'm not going to play anything, of course. No real reason to. Sure. That does Tevinkar's Justice just fine. So most of our opponent's cards die to the Tevinkar's Justice, and there's just nothing they can really do about it. So they're gonna have a really hard time coming back here. They are gonna probably draw all the burn spells in their deck. So I do have to be careful to make sure that I don't go too crazy countering creatures when I could just be countering the burn spells. Some more lands would be nice. Hydroblast is fine. I'll just go ahead and discard this Edict. I'll just keep discarding removal spells. Crypt Incursion is a nice one, gonna gain me a lot of life at some point. Only has 1, 2, 3 creatures in there now, but he'll eventually have like 10 in there. Get rid of Devour Flesh. I'll just counter pretty much anything just so I don't have to. It just doesn't matter at all, but just so I don't have to discard next turn, I'll just counter that. Ooh, Pyroblast is perfectly fine. I don't care about that. I mean, this dies to Avantgarde Justice, so I really don't care about it at all. I also don't care about that one. It's interesting my opponent's playing all like multiple creatures out into my Avantgarde Justice that they know about. Maybe they don't care. It'd be nice to hit one more land so I could hold up double, like more counter spells at a time. Which is why I kept this Disfigure before, as I've been a little short on lands rather than keeping the Devour Flesh. Yep. The reason I keep letting these resolve is it kills our opponent faster. If I don't draw my Pristine Talisman in time, I'm not going to be able to keep Justicing. And from here on out, I'm only going to Justice if my opponent plays 2 creatures in a turn. If he plays another creature here, alright, that's fine. 1 mana, draw a card, not bad. The poor man's Divination. But anyway, I'm not going to Justice away just a Glinthawk. I will Disfigure it away. But if he's going to play a Thraben Inspector, then I'll Justice it. I'll Justice both of them away. My opponent might be hoping to just burn me out at some point, and I'm sure that's like that's the only plan they have. Which is a fine plan, it's just once I get to Crypt Incursion, it's gonna be out of reach. Yeah, Aqueduct will probably be enough to put it away. So, let's do that. Do that. Pick up the Radiant Fountain. I'm gonna discard a Disfigure, I just don't need 2 of them. So, if my opponent has like all of their burn spells, like if they have 7 right here, I don't think it's going to be enough to kill me, but it might be. Also don't care about that. Just going to Justice those away too after I play my Radiant Fountain. Gain a little life. Because now I can hold up a lot of counter spells. I have 3 counter spells up now. Alright. Down to 18 cards. Down to 17 cards. So this is why this matchup is so good, and I think a lot of people who play Teachings play it wrong. You can see my opponent brought in these Fragmentizes, and they're okay, but they're just not the spells that really matter. Let's go ahead and just Hydroblast one of these. Galvanic Blast is the most damage one, so that's the one I'll counter. Okay. Let's go ahead and prohibit it as well. I don't think they're going to be able to play enough stuff. Yeah, they weren't. Alright. Got a lot of counters again. I'm not going to Crypt Incursion yet. Although I could just do it now. Let's see, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 creatures in there. That'll pretty much put it away, I think. I'd like to get 1 more in there if I can, though. And I've got 3 counterspells up, so I'm just not worried about anything at all that they could do. Core Skyfisher is a perfectly good creature for me to put into their graveyard. Let's just deprive that and pick up a Radiant Fountain. Alright. Let's just end this game right here. Crypt Incursion U. Alright. I think that'll hopefully satisfy our opponent that we've won. It did, we did it. So we went 3-2 with Teachings. We ran into 2 copies or one each of our 2 worst matchups, and we got pretty close to beating Affinity. I thought we had a little bit of a bad draw, but I also kind of sideboarded in a way made us a little more likely to get that bad draw, but still we had like they had maybe 6 at the most counter spells, plus they needed to get ATOG plus Fling. They were able to find triple counterspell plus ATOG Fling, and all I needed to find was 3 counterspells, but it didn't happen. And we had like 8 or 9 counterspells, unfortunately. Wasn't enough. Yeah, so deck's really fun. This is my worst record with this deck in a while, but I also haven't been running into too much Stompy with it, despite the fact that Stompy is supposedly everywhere and winning all the time. That was a pretty cool league. You guys could see how this deck matches up against 5 different archetypes, and I would say that the results were pretty much typical in every matchup that we played. I would expect to lose to both Stompy and Affinity. Stompy, I mean, we definitely could have won those games against the Stompy deck if I had ever drawn Evenkar's Justice, and we might want a third one just because Stompy is a pretty good deck. Kuldotha Boros is like a free win. They got a lot better against us when like Eternal Masters came out, and they got Vintage Masters and Thraben Inspector. Like, they got some good cards against us that they never used to have when I used to play this deck, but it's still not, I don't know. I know some people sometimes have trouble with it. I've heard people say that Kuldotha Boros is favored against Teachings, and I don't know, I'm like 10-0 against them. I don't think I've ever lost to Kuldotha Boros since they changed the deck list to be like have Thraben Inspector and stuff. In theory, you can lose some games if they just blast you out like really fast. Like if they get a Kuldotha Rebirth and then they get a rally on turn 3 and then they like triple blast you or something, then you can die, but it's so unrealistic. I don't know. It's a pretty easy matchup in my book. Tron decks are kind of hit or miss. It's more that their decks are really inconsistent, and they're not like inconsistent in the sense that they're not going to hit their stuff. It's more like they're inconsistent at being able to do the things at the right time. So like if they don't have a big threat on turn 3, it's probably too slow. And you could see in the games that we played against them, if it took until turn 4 to play a big threat, it was probably game over for them. And that just happens sometimes. Like sometimes it just took too many turns. So try this deck out. It's awesome. It's my favorite deck, so it's sweet. It's really cheap to build. If you don't play the Excludes or the Hydroblast, it's dirt cheap, and honestly, they're not that important. Hydroblast is good because it can get rid of like Curse of the Bloody or Curse of Pierced Heart against Burn, but honestly, you could play without it. You could just play some Dispels or something. They're almost as good as Hydroblast. Sometimes they're better than Hydroblast. And then the Excludes are like pretty slow anyway, so you don't really need them. In the past, we only play one of them because they're so slow, and it's possible I should still be doing that now, but I love that card so much, though. I always play it. That is it for this league. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to get alerted anytime I put out new videos, and follow me on Twitter if you want to be alerted anytime I go live on Twitch or anytime I put up a new video on YouTube. And leave me any comments or feedback in the comment section below. I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.